Now let's go ahead and smooth out the character. And I feel like to smooth out the character, it's probably a good idea to save at this stage if you haven't saved already. So I'm going to go File, Save Scene As, and you can see that I've been saving along the way. So every time I save a different version, that way if I need to come back a step, I always have it. Notice my naming convention, I always have the name of the character underscore, then 001, 002, and I keep that very kind of boring naming convention. That way it's super clean. Because now if I smooth it and if I realize I made a mistake, I can always come back. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and select this character, and there's not kind of enough information to like add this ear. So if I go like this, I'm going to go ahead and add this icon, which is Edit Mesh Smooth. So to do that, I can go here, Control Shift, click on that, and it should add this. Now, let's say if you had an extra icon on here, you could always right click and delete. Then Control Shift, you get it back. You could also middle mouse drag to move the order of these. Okay, but if I have this object selected, I can click on this smooth, and now it's starting to look a lot more complex. You might be saying, well, hey, that looks cool, Dave. Why didn't we do that earlier? Well, I feel like the more of this wire that we have kind of to keep track of, the more difficult it would be. So by design, we were actually making it super simple before because we knew, or at least I knew, that we were going to get to this step here. Okay, so it still doesn't look perfect, but first thing I do is when I do a smooth, I want to make sure that everything looks good, especially down the center line. And I can see like here, this looks a little awkward. So I'm going to select here and here. And I'm going to merge that. Edit Mesh, Merge. And then I can click on this and increase the threshold, and I can see that that looks better. I'll press B. B is soft select. So if it's in those bright colors, I can press B as in basketball. And I'm going to go here and I'm going to just go Edit Mesh, Merge. Edit Mesh, Merge, Control Shift. And then I can add that, and now I can merge. And it's not going to merge right away. I have to increase the threshold. And now I can see that it merged. Again, want to make sure that everything else looks good, especially on the center line. In the center line, that's where most of the problems are going to arise. Okay. Now if I look at this, I can see that it should still be matching our thing, but there may be areas where it's slightly off. I can go into vertex mode and I can click on this. Now watch what happens here. I'll go back out to this mode. If I go to move, and if I move this out, it's obviously very harsh. Even if I grab several of them, it's very awkward. But if I go like this, let's say if I just grab this one, and if I press B as in basketball, if I hold down B and middle mouse drag left or right, I'm creating kind of an influence zone. And where it's yellow, it's going to have the most influence. Black is going to have zero influence. And this is obviously going to have zero influence. So now, if I look at this from the front, I can kind of pull that, and you can see how it's kind of a soft selection. Okay. And I can just highlight that. And if I want kind of more protected regions, if you will, I can just kind of make my zone smaller or select fewer polygons. Awesome. Now I can kind of go like this. Excellent. And let's take a look up here. If my symmetry is slightly off, I'm going to favor this side of the model as opposed to this side, because I feel like if I need to remirror it, I know I always delete this side of the model. So like here, if I want to pull that up, I could just kind of press B and kind of get a smaller zone. There we go. Nice. And now I can see that's looking pretty good here, maybe on the hand. Sometimes it's easier if I just kind of manually like go out here to select. And now that I have that, kind of pull that out. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. And so I could even kind of rotate that if I wanted to. There we go. Cool. Pull this down. And there's other ways that might be a little bit more even intuitive to get it correct with the sculpting tools, and I'll show that in a second here. But I'm just kind of getting us kind of roughly in the right ballpark. I'll select that from a better angle in a second. Okay, excellent. And let's see, so up here, maybe not a bad idea to kind of make that bigger. There we go. Nice. Now, another trick at this point is that the form is kind of becoming more important. So I feel like having a shiny object, so if I right click, assign existing material, blend. Okay, Lambert is going to have no shine or matte, and this is going to have a shine. So if I click on this, if I go all the way to the right over here, okay, all of this stuff is the history of it. Okay, so instead of scrolling forever, I could just go like this, edit, delete by type, history. Now it got rid of all that history, and I can see that the last tab here is the blend. Okay, and if I make this blend darker, now I can really see the form. And if I turn wireframe on shaded off, now I can see the form even better. Okay, now I can come in here and I can kind of evaluate it. So for example, you can see that I can start to see the shape of the face by seeing just the highlights. But let's take a look at this. I'm going to kind of go in here and let's take a look at it from the side. Maybe I come down here. Can be as in basketball. There we go. Sometimes it's hard to tell where like the image is. So sometimes kind of pushing it back and seeing if the image gets revealed. I can also see that on this eye. So maybe I'll carefully select like these. And if I look real close here, I can see that there's the orange area. So now maybe I kind of pull this down and I'm going to kind of make this bigger. And now I can kind of pull that better in place. Now let's look at it from the front. And I can see that it's kind of crowding this area too much, so maybe I'll even get a bigger influence zone. There we go. Nice. Then I'll kind of carefully take some of these. And again, I'm not super concerned about getting it lined up exactly with kind of the underlying lines. Those are there just kind of as hints. But more so, like I want the eye to be where the eye is. I want the mouth to roughly be where the mouth is and things like that. But it doesn't have to be an exact science by any means. So if I look here, I had to move that out of the way a little bit to kind of see what I was actually looking at. So I can see that like this is like kind of the lips. And sometimes looking at it in the three-dimensional view can help kind of give hints if we're on the right track. And I think that we're on the right track. Still needs some adjustment, but I think we're moving in the right direction.